Show me.
I'm the martial arts film freak, and I watched No Retreat, No Surrender for the first time ever.
Full contact karate, the world's deadliest game, is being kicked apart by the Syndicate Soviet Mean Machine, leaving only one man left to stop him, Jason Stillwell.
You've been fighting again.
So what?
You know how I feel about fighting.
Yeah, I do. You're scared to death of it.
Jason believed in the way of the dragon, but others didn't.
Eat me up? Don't worry. I'm nobody's lunch.
No Retreat, No Surrender is a 1986 film directed by the legendary Corey Yuen, starring Kurt McKinney, Jean-Claude Van Damme, J.W. Fales, and a lot of other people. Kent Lipham, a lot, just more people. But it's mainly just you're paying attention to Kurt McKinney and Jean-Claude Van Damme. As little as Jean-Claude is actually in this movie. The story is very Karate Kid, even though I'm sure both movies were actually being made at the exact same time. It is a young man and his family are moving to a new town, except now we actually know why he's moving. It's because his father and karate sensei were bullied by mobsters who I guess own his school now, and now they have to move to Seattle.
Seattle! Yeah!
And you know, just trouble comes up when he gets bullied by other karate students, and there's also probably a couple racists in town picking on his only friend who's a black guy. And this movie's got a lot going on, and not a lot of it actually really matters. Let's get to one thing that is a glaring, it's not a problem, but it's there. Let's get this out of the way. The acting is bad. It's bad. And I have heard that is not completely all the actors' fault, although I'm sure some of it is. It's not your fault if the dialogue isn't good, but the dialogue isn't good, so they don't deliver it very well. And then there are some times where they have to react, whether, people are laughing or someone screams, where apparently Corey Yuen just said, like, bigger, and so they just had to keep acting bigger, and it's a choice. It's definitely a choice made by Corey Yuen. It's weird. Another choice this movie made, and this has to be Corey Yuen, I think, maybe, I don't know, is the stereotypes in this movie are as big as the reactions, as big as the acting. In that, I mean, specifically, probably two characters. I mean, also, like, the evil Russian, who's played by a dude who's not Russian. That sounds familiar? Yeah, so two characters who are just big stereotypes. There is a fat guy and a black guy. We meet the fat guy leaning against his car in the middle of the street, eating a whole cake. Sorry, take that back. It wasn't a whole cake. It was half a cake, meaning he had already eaten half of the cake. And it's covering his face. He's not eating it well. It's like probably on his shirt a bit. There's some on the hood of the car. It's all over his mouth. Yeah, and then he just, like, 3 other times we see him eating throughout the movie, and he's just getting stuff all over his face, and it's gross, and I did not like it. And he's also probably a racist, which, I mean, yeah. The other stereotype in the movie is, as I said, the only, I think, black character. Actually, no, there's two. There are 2 black characters. One of them, pretty big stereotype. And I just mostly mean that in that we meet him, and within 5 minutes, he's already rapping and dancing. And it's not even really good rapping. Like, it's definitely rap written by a white dude. It just wasn't good. He's fun. He's a fun character. I enjoyed the relationship between him and Kurt McKinney. But that was probably racist. There is part of the story here. It is pretty random. I forgot to mention as I get into this part. This movie also has Kim Tai-chung. Kim Tai-chung, who you may recognize as a Bruce Lee lookalike. He doesn't really look like Bruce Lee. He looks like Bruce Lee, like from the back with a certain haircut. And then from the face, it's definitely not Bruce Lee. But he is like the Bruce Lee stand-in in Game of Death, and Game of Death 2, probably a couple other Bruceploitation movies. And so in this movie, our main character, who visits the grave of Bruce Lee, often has posters, sort of imitates him at one point, does the noises and everything. He like starts seeing Bruce Lee, and begins to learn, begins to train under the ghost of Bruce Lee. And one thing I think this movie didn't think about, and I'm sure they didn't, a lot of things weren't thought about, is he is going nuts. He is losing his mind. And I don't know if it's the moving to a new town, if it's the getting beat up every other day, if it's constantly now being surrounded by some big fat racist dude with food all over his face. I don't know. But it wouldn't be a problem if we just kind of see him training and maybe he in his mind is seeing Bruce Lee. But it's that at one point his friend walks in on him and he is just shadowboxing. That's fine. Shadowboxing is a thing. But he then is also just talking to air. He's talking to no one because he thinks he's talking to Bruce Lee. That is him losing his mind. But you know what? It was 1986. The movie was probably made in 1984 or 1983. And it kind of works. But this is No Retreat, No Surrender. This movie is kind of heralded, praised for its martial arts, for its action, for its fighting. And you know what? I get it. I completely understand why when somebody makes like this list probably of like American martial arts classics, there's a lot of new stuff, and what do you even think of, when you think of older stuff? You think of the Van Damme leading classics. You think of your Bloodsport, your Kickboxer, your Time Cops. And a lot of people go to No Retreat, No Surrender, and I get it. The action is very good. The martial arts is fantastic. There is a lot, and a lot of it is actually quite forgettable. Anytime that a martial artist is fighting another martial artist, Kurt McKinney, Jean-Claude Van Damme, all the other guys in this movie who are fighters, anytime they are fighting each other, it is gorgeous. They are excellent martial artists, almost in their prime probably, and just looks great. Anytime there is like a martial artist fighting a nobody, like the scene where Kurt McKinney sees his dad getting beat up behind a bar, and so Kurt McKinney comes and saves him. It's a bit meh, and the choreography is kind of meh. Kurt McKinney looks fantastic still. He is a great fighter, great martial artist, and it's just the other people just kind of throwing lazy hands looks kind of crap. But it's just still fun, I guess, to see Kurt McKinney just beat up a bunch of probably racist dudes. I also didn't really know how much was going on in this movie before I saw it. I always thought that this was almost kind of like a tournament movie, and it's mostly because I had only really ever seen the Jean-Claude Van Damme scenes, and he is hardly in the movie. He is in the beginning when we see, them beat up his dad at his karate school, and then he is in the end in this tournament sort of thing. And that is all we really see of Jean-Claude Van Damme, but he is the big baddie, kinda. He is what brings together Kurt McKinney and sort of the other karate people who are picking on him. Because, Van Damme beats up all of them, and then it's up to Kurt McKinney to step up and get the job done. And, it's just, I thought this was a lot more tournament-y, and it's not. It's definitely, like, very Karate Kid. Very Karate Kid. And again, I'm sure they were made, like, at the exact same time, so they weren't copying anything. Van Damme looks fantastic, and you know what? It's weird. You're gonna hate me a little bit, maybe. I'm on record, I don't know if I've said it too much on here, but I'm on record with a lot of people as to saying that I'm not a fan of a lot of Jean-Claude Van Damme's choreography. I think a lot of it is repetitive. He does the exact same things, and he hardly ever gets hit in a lot of his movies. I like, a bit adversity in my martial arts movies. I like the Jean-Claude Van Damme fights here more than a lot of other things, even though he is just still winning, but he's the bad guy. He's supposed to be the unbeatable, villain, hardcore Ivan Drago villain. And I just think his choreography here, and it's probably helped a lot by the fact that it's Corey Yuen, the choreography here is so much better than almost anything I see in a lot of other Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, and I know people are going to disagree with that, but when you add the skill of someone like Van Damme and the rest of this cast, and you add it to like the Hong Kong level of Corey Yuen and his team, you get just brilliance, and it looks fantastic. It's not all great, it's not all gold, but most of it is freaking incredible. In the end, I am going to give No Retreat, No Surrender 3.5 Ghosts of Bruce Lee out of 5. 3.5. That sounds pretty good. It's mostly for the action, because everything else is pretty bad. I get it. It's 80s, like, not big picture bad. It's not like a Hollywood A-list movie quality. I get it. So it's gonna be kind of lower standards and stuff. But the acting was pretty horrible. The dialogue was pretty bad. But everything else was pretty damn beautiful. I understand if this is like someone's super favorite movie, because I understand someone growing up in the 80s, like Scott Adkins has talked about. I understand growing up in the 80s and maybe even the early 90s and seeing this and thinking, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. I get it. I've got movies that are horribly acted, that are just bad stories, but the fighting is fantastic, and because I saw them at the right age, I think they're freaking incredible, and I will stand by that to this day. Maybe Die Fighting is kind of that movie, even though I saw it when I was like maybe 17. Has the movie aged well? No. Has the fighting aged well? You're goddamn right. The fighting was fantastic. It was amazing. What did you think of No Retreat, No Surrender? Did you grow up with this American martial arts classic, we should say? Tell me your thoughts in the comment section down below. How wrong, how right am I? Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Head over to Facebook, where there is the Martial Arts Film Freak Facebook page. Thank you so much for watching once again, and have a good day.